RCI's initial IMSA road racing season rolls on out of Virginia and all the way to New York State. Hello, everybody, and welcome in to round number 4 of RCI's Road Racing Championship. I'm Jesse Lee, joined by Dan Van Zutphen and Ash Bibby, once again behind the cameras. Man, I'm getting spoiled with all of these American races going on here and all of these wonderful tracks as well. We are, of course, at Watkins, Glen, just outside the village of Watkins, Glen, on the southern point of Seneca Lake. The population here in Watkins, Glen, less than 2,000 people as of the most recent census, but an IMSA race around here draws a crowd in excess of 30 to 40,000 people. Dan, welcome to New York.
Welcome to New York indeed, and thank you. I always love the Glen, of course. The 11 turns long turn track is still an amazing facility to date, even though with the, well, let's say pretty small crowd. And yeah, Watkins Glen, upstate of New York, happy to be here.
Certainly is going to be a race that it will likely show some attrition. You know, we were at VIR, Virginia International Raceway, 1 week ago. The track confines weren't very dangerous like they are today, but cars were going off left, right, and center because of the difficulty of the circuit. Now, they didn't crash a whole lot. We did have a couple of retirements, of course. Today, though, if they crash, it could be a whole different story. And in fact, Dan, in practice, we saw many cars find an early demise into the wall.
Yeah, indeed. Of course, the walls are really close. As we see, that is Russia just bailing out of his lap there. But yeah, indeed, walls are very close here at the Glen, and the speeds are very high as well. Especially with cold tires and iRacing, I would not be surprised to see any cars hit the wall here today. So let's see what happens.
Just looking at the chat, hello everybody joining us this evening, wherever you are in the world. We're happy to have you with us. We hope you're having a good week here and having an even better evening. Three-time Night Out champ said that this is the only good part of New York, and hey, he would know. He was recently in New York City and New Jersey, rather, unfortunately. Sorry about that, Harry. We're sorry about New Jersey, by the way. I speak on behalf of every American not from New Jersey, but rather beside the point. This is a lovely place to be. It's a small town America around here, long way away from any skyscrapers or large cities, and it is the optimal place to put on world-class motor racing. Of course, this facility has hosted anywhere from sports cars back in the day to Formula One, NASCAR, sports cars, modern-day stuff as well. And it's one of those tracks that a lot of people seem to remember. If you ask them what their favorite North American track is, I would reckon most people would say either Daytona or Watkins Glen. So this is an interesting point for the midway point of the championship, and we'll see how qualifying shakes out. Of course, they had 10 minutes of qualifying. Of those 10 minutes, most of them are already up, only 3:45 left here to go. Felipe, the current quickest qualifier in GTP. They are the yellow category if you're looking on the left-hand side of the screen, or, of course, the track map. Peter Roche is currently on pole in LMP2 in the blue field of cars, and Janjic getting the job done in GTD thus far.
I'd expect the field to be quite close, especially at Watkins Glen. Of course, Watkins Glen is a really, let's say, smooth track. It has a lot of fast corners, lots of. It has some kind of nice, some kind of vibe. Watkins Glen, of course, it has a lot of straight, especially on the first, second, and third turns. The S's, they are normally, I think, even in GT3 machinery, flat out, so you don't lose a lot of time there. And yeah, I'd expect the gaps to be quite close, as we can see the top 3 currently separated by somewhat around about 8 tenths, somewhat. So yeah, let's see. Still 2 minutes and 40 seconds in this qualifying session to go. What do you expect from the remaining session, Jesse?
Well, I expect to see a couple of the cars improve upon their lap times thus far. They've been quite close in all the categories. You can clearly see that it's a 27.6 for Leach, who has just went to the top of GTP. The number 711 car has set the mark to beat, and they're all quite close to one another there. but it will take some doing to beat those laps. I expect to not only see some improve, as I've said, I expect to see some carnage here as you get your banker lap in. Everybody's done that already, and now you're sort of pressing it in these confines, not friendly, and even worse, dipping a tire off into the dirt, one singular tire off into the dirt in iRacing can always spell disaster.
Yeah, definitely iRacing, not known for its grip, also not on gold tires, but definitely also not on the grass. And as we said before, if you make an error on Watkins Glen here, you will find the walls almost pretty much immediately. As you said, a different track with a different level of risk compared to Virginia International Raceway. So I must agree with you, Jesse. I expect some chaos too here as well. We haven't seen anyone gone off in qualifying yet. Of course, it is easy to get an invalidation here around Watkins Glen. Again, margins are really small, and so are the white lines. And let's see if there can be any improvements made by the driver. We're watching Jordan Daly just not getting his lap right. And as we say, not a lot of margin for error. And Daly shows exactly that. Jonjic now still on pole position, provisional pole position here in the Porsche and trying to get a better lap in.
That was quite surprising by Daly. He was one of the top practice drivers as he continued to improve. It looked like he may have been a threat for pole position. He will not be. He'll start in P7. Half of the GTP field into the pit lane. Lep, Sindelar, and Broshek all in the pit lane with Daly. Sindelar is not in the pit lane. I've just realized that's Broshek in the pit lane. Under us, Peter Roche, your current top qualifier in LMP2 with a 130.9. They are the only car in that category in the pit lane. You just saw Jančić abandon their lap after it not coming off, and they are also in the pit lane. Just two cars out there on the racetrack right now, and they will likely finish up their laps, and that will conclude us here for qualifying. Wide-angle view here of Watkins Glen International Raceway, and this track has two different main configurations. Of course, they have the short course that's known for the NASCAR series and the boot version, otherwise known as the full course. That is the course we're racing on today. Interesting anecdote that Dan and I discovered pre-race here today. No matter what configuration this track is, the race promoters consider it an 11-turn road course. We figured out what they're doing. In the short course, or the NASCAR version of this racetrack, they don't do the boot, obviously, but it has 11 turns because they count every turn inside the interloop or bus stop, as I refer to it, and they call it 11 corners in the full version because they don't include any of the boot section. Quite interesting way to name or number the corners. Well, qualifying over, Leach, Roche, and Roof, your top qualifiers in the respective categories. And as we wait for them to get underway for the pace lap, let's show you the championship points. Starting off with LMP2, Lucas Kristek leads them all, 183 points over Luca Filippi in second place. I believe I've called them LMP. Okay, they're GTP cars. I'll start. You know what, Dan? We're not live. I'll just start over. All right, starting off with GTP cars, Luca Kristek out in front of the field, 183 points. Luca Filippi in second with 164. That's certainly within striking distance near the halfway point of the championship. Jaroslav Sindelar in third on 138. Finn Dressel in fourth on 130. Ryan Leach has 124 entering today, and Ermis Ekma has 122 in sixth. Behind them, Lubos Lep, Bastian Lindner, Daly. I just realized Lindner and Daly tied on 93 points apiece. Mate on 65. Joshua Parrott on 44. Broshek on 44, Tom Carroll on 31, Theobout Roscom on 25, Scott Williams on 21, and Patrick Den on 17 rounds out your GTP field. LMP2, the smaller class, but definitely very close racing. Justak on 180 points over Maciej Hyla, 171. Justin Dijkstra with 137 points. Tom Bryan in fourth place on 131. Ted Edwards rounds out your top 5 with 117. Benjamin Heilman has 109 in 6th. Kamferger on 95 in 7th. Mikhail Sundstrom on 92. Raphael Huell in 9th with 40. GTD has Zoran Janjic out in front, 177 points. Pavel Dazal with 136 in second. James Mead is in third with 119, 1 point over fourth place Christopher Lowe, who has 118. 2 points behind them, Daniel Merchant in fifth on 116. Piotr Dominicus in sixth place on 106. Janet Roof with 97 points. Ada Wolf has 93. Bart Macha on 85. Tom Watts has 74. Trev Anderson on 65. Frederick Gutman on 44. And Kevin Boss with 25. Dan, a lot of good points on the table here today. A lot of opportunity to get it wrong. But more importantly, we're halfway through this championship. There's still battles for nearly every position.
Yeah, especially if you, as you saw, just the lead, the battles for the lead, in especially LMP2 and GTP are just still wide open with half of a season to go. So I think it'll be an exciting race, maybe a turning point here in the championship. It could be for some drivers at the front and at the back and basically everywhere in the field. So I think it'll be an interesting race. We have some more GTDs today as well than we had in Virginia, so that's always nice to see. So yeah, indeed, Jesse, I can't agree more. I think it'll be an exciting race. That's really important for championship points here.
Well, what's interesting is there are a few more cars here. VIR was not known as a racetrack where making passes on slower cars was easy, but in comparison to here at the Glen, it's almost academic. There's easier passing lanes here, sure, but because of the pace and the nature of this racetrack, the switchback left, right nature, it is quite difficult to set up a car or for a car to sort of get out of the way, if you will, if they are so inclined. A lot of comings together here on the apexes of these corners with faster cars coming through. One would only need to look at some of the iRacing official series that they run here. It's a common issue, and it's one that in recent years has sparked some debate on what is the sort of decorum that you use for a track like this that has these sweeping corners. Does the faster car stay to the outside and go the long way? Do you slow up a little bit if you're a slower car? All that may not be answered today, but we are going to do battle for 80 minutes, 1 hour and 20 on the clock. The green flag for the GTPs is out, and it's a bad start for Felipe as Leach gets away cleanly. Here comes left down to the inside. Looked like Billy Octane overshot turn number 1 here as they head up the S's for the first time. One car completely dead in the water. That was Jordan Daly, who has not had a great start. The 197 dead in the water, getting passed by the LMP2 field for the time being. Leach out in front now has a new contender. Felipe is able to maintain P2 over Lepin Sindelar, and it looks like Broshek has went off the track into the bus stop they have. Ferdinand is by them, and he's going all the way back to next to last. This is a replay of what happened to Daly, and I think that's... Oh, Octane was the car that shot off of turn number 1, but on the inside of the corner, his teammate Jordan Daly locked it down. No damage to the car other than the tires. And while all that was going on, Broshek had an incident as well, and they are towed back to the pit lane. Huge crash right here for the 14, and that's what sent them all the way back to the pit lane.
Cadillac being the dominant car here in the GTP field, especially with the quite hectic start, but they managed to all survive, and so we have a full Cadillac top 3 for now at the Watkins Glen circuit. So a really eventful start, especially in the GTP field, and let's see what the start did in the GTD field and the LMP2 field. We haven't seen those thus far, and as we can see, lots of GT3, just a train of GT3s coming through their first lap to finish their first lap. Ruoff is still in pole, is still in first place. he qualified in first place, if I remember correctly as well. And what an awesome shot this is. You can just see the train of cars with the amazing flow this circuit has, just rounding off their laps.
Jordan Daly has not made it back through the race or to the start-finish line. He has DNF'd from this race. He's currently still ahead of Brochek because they towed to pit lane, and Daly made it further around. He made it to turn 10, and another incident has caused that car to end their race. The 197 won't complete a lap here. Brochek's still in the race. They're just towing to pit lane. I suspect they're going to try and repair that car and get it back out there, the 14 that is. And here's what happened to the 197. Oh, just got a little loose there. And as the boot rejoins the short course, it does sort of plateau. Hard to see from that angle. Just got away from him there, and 197 has decided that is going to be just about it.
Yeah, so especially at the start when you spin, your tires are still cold and you just can't get the heat into the tires. So that's why I think Jordan Daly made a little bit of a mistake and then ended up in the wall again after that spin, probably because of the cold tires. So yeah, really unfortunate for Jordan Daly here, as we see Piotr Dominicus, P3 last race in the Lamborghini, just spins, doesn't keep it out of the wall, and that will be very tough comeback for him, Jesse.
Yeah, he's already been in the pit lane, has Dominicus in that Lamborghini. They've exited the lane. They seem to be fine now, but that was an unfortunate moment. Shuranak has had an incident out of P4 in GTP. The number 7 here has crashed coming into the bus stop. They call it the inner loop, and oh my goodness, he hits the wall entering the inner loop, and body parts on that Porsche go absolutely flying. And in the span of 1.5 to 2 laps, we have already lost 3 of the GTP field, finding the course a bit too tall of a task, Dan.
My goodness, what an horrible GTP start.
Gnarly, we'd
today,
call it
Jesse.
here on the East Coast, Dan. Gnarly.
Yeah, no, what a gnarly start we had here on for the GTPs in this on the track, of course. Such a shame as well. Almost half of the GTPs have already DNF'd or are out of the race. So yeah, it's a shame, Jesse, but at least the LMP2s, the next high downforce cars, are surviving, and they're having some great battles as well, as we see here. Ted Edwards, our own Ted Edwards, of course. He didn't have a great race last race, but he seems to be going a little bit better today, Jesse.
Certainly is looking good. I mean, well, Tom Bryan, Ted Edwards, both of those cars looked pretty good halfway through VIR. They were coming up through the field. They were both in the top 5 at one point, and then the wheels, well, in some cases, almost literally fell off of both of those cars, and hopefully that doesn't happen here today. This pack very close together as we are watching the 213 of Hyla with Ann Anime on that particular Dallara. Dykstra in the lead of this field over Hyla, and Roche in tow right behind, but this entire field are quite close to each other, so be very careful here to not overdrive some of these corners. Easy to do in an LMP2 car, especially if you're following somebody else, to outbrake yourself or underturn yourself in some of these corners, and this car directly in front of you. Some of these curbs can wreak absolute havoc as well. You got to be careful about that. It's also Peter Roche fans in the chat earlier on. We've also got some PSUK esports fans as well cheering on their teammates. We love to see it, and of course the always present group from Triple R. Roof leads in GT3. That Porsche enjoys a 1.6 or a 1.6 second lead. It's actually just gone to 2.0, 2-second lead over Rowe, and Janjic in third. If this result holds, and of course we've got a lot of racing left to go, Dan, this could mean and have huge championship implications, meaning that a lot of these title races will get very tight after today.
Yeah, again, half point mark. So let's see. Let's see again if this could be a turning point, as we see a change for the lead now. The Porsche of
big crash!
Big crash there for the leading GTDs, Jesse.
Rowe and Janjic have had a huge crash. Tom Watts has also been involved. Roof's going to go into the lead with Anderson and Macha, the top three, but that was a huge crash. Here it is.
Oh my God.
This is the bottom of the boot here, and what happens is just a fight over the space, and I wonder if maybe the Porsche of Janjic didn't want to give room, and that's where Tom Watts comes in. But a huge crash there. Rowe, I don't really think could have done anything else there. Just a mid-judgment by Janjic, and Tom Watts, of course, complete bystander.
Such a shame. I was just wanted to talk about Janjic, who drove with, I think, single-handedly last race in Virginia International Raceway, if I remember, single-handedly 2P2, how big of that an achievement was. But now he has probably find himself out of the race. We can see Chris Rowe maybe having another incident, having a spin, not keeping it out.
Oh, the tire pack!
And that's such an unfortunate incident for Chris Rowe. Wanted to get it to pit lane, but unfortunately couldn't.
If there's one thing I want to see, perhaps for iRacing, but in general for the immersion of sims, I want to see tire walls like what Janjic just hit. I want to see, or Rowe rather, sorry. I want to see that actually act the way that it's supposed to, instead of it being a completely solid object like a concrete wall. Maybe we'll get there one day, soft physics and whatnot, but man, devastating. You're already having an accident, Dan, you're into the wall, and then you hit what should be a tire pack that should just sort of accept the impact and bounce you away from it, but instead completely demolishes the car.
Yeah, it's such a shame, and let's see if iRacing could work on that. Of course, iRacing isn't really the only sim having that problem. Ooh, as we see, I think that's the Lamborghini of Anderson just blocking some GTPs.
Oh, this is dangerous.
And that's the traffic has been there and let the chaos commence, as we say. And it's now up to the GTPs to get as quickly as by to the traffic as possible. As we see the Porsche here of Mattia. No, that is, I'm sorry, that's Sindelar, just driving left and right to avoid any traffic, Jesse.
Yeah, we talk about the traffic and what it could mean today. Let's just tell you some of the fallout from VIR of what happened 1 week ago. There was a 4-place final position penalty given to Lep in the GTP field for an incident with a GT3 at VIR. And that was, of course, just added on post-race. And there was a 3-place penalty for the GT3 car of Wolf for an incident where they were involved with an LMP2 car, and that changed the result of that race just a little bit. Les Stevenson is in chat, and I'm a little jealous, if I'm completely honest. He's talking about enjoying his Thursday evening, watching us, which we appreciate, Les, of course. Also having an apple pie and a McFlurry. Not sponsored by McDonald's, but McDonald's, if you're listening. Who could sell a Big Mac? Who could sell a Big Mac better than me? Come on, let's be honest. That clown ain't got nothing on me. All right? I mean, I'm a clown of my own. I just don't wear a red nose. But backing off of that, our broadcaster, Ash Bibby, and Les Stevenson are having an argument in the background on if you crumble the apple pie or you dunk it in the McFlurry. It's getting heated, folks.
Well, I could use a good soda sponsored by McDonald's, so about giving commentary. So I'd oblige to get a good sponsorship in. Fun fact about McDonald's, here in the Netherlands, they sponsor a VW Beetle Cup and all the headlights, because they don't race in the night, so all the headlights are covered. They are sponsored by McDonald's. So you're just seeing a few cute little VW Beetles in raceback, sponsored by McDonald's with headlights, as we see a great GTP fight here commence, although Felipe doesn't quite go for the move. I think he doesn't want to risk it in the chicane.
That was a real bump draft right there. Felipe on the back of Leach for the lead of GTP, and they got as close as they possibly can. You can technically bump draft in these cars and get away with it, though if you do it a little bit too vigorous, you start getting iRacing contact X's, and that's not something you want to do. I think that was, if they did make contact, it was gentle enough that it would have given a 0X, and they would have been able to walk away from that. We haven't talked about the weather here at Watkins, Glen, and it is slightly strange. Normally, I'm used to coming here. It's bright sunshine or partly cloudy with a little bit of a breeze. Today, that's not the case. It's completely overcast, ominous clouds around the speedway at certain times, but no real rain, of course, because it is iRacing currently. Maybe one day we will get that rain update. Today is not that day, but the clouds, very ominous, and with the cloud cover, that will boost grip, or it should at least boost grip around the racetrack.
Yeah, it should indeed, of course. I think the temperature is cooling down because of the clouded weather here at Watkins Glen, and that's only good for the grip here today, as you say. Felipe, of course, finished P3 last time around in Virginia International Raceway, hoping to really clinch the victory here today, but he's still got a car in front, and that's Leach in the Cadillac in P1. There has been a change for P3. It happens somewhere, at least. Sindelar has sort of not dominated the Cadillac anymore, and so the Porsche is in P3. As we see some great traffic management here by the GTPs. Of course, the GTPs have also reached the LMP2s the same time with the GTDs, of course. So that's really interesting. Of course, the LMP2s have a little bit more downforce, well, or a lot more downforce than the GTDs, and so they are a bit harder to manage than the slower GTD cars here at Watkins Glen. Ooh, and we see a very big off that for Anderson, who was P2, who was running P2 in the GTD class, but is now running P4.
Oh, he's still involved in an accident right there on the end. Yep, just got a little bit too out of sorts, got behind on the steering and tries to reset himself, and does it a little too quickly. The CLR car, I think that might have been Tom Bryan, actually. One of the cars, HWT or CLR, certainly getting away with it there. And this is... That was Ted Edwards. Here's Ted Edwards right here coming into the boot section and just gets spun around there.
Yeah, that will definitely get looked at by the stewards. Ted Edwards, no fault of his own. At least, of course, we saw in Virginia International Raceway Ted had some difficulties with the rear of that car, but it definitely wasn't his fault this time. So I think the stewards will quite have a look at that. Ted Edwards now running in P7 out of the 7 LMP2s. Let's see if he can make a little comeback. Ted Edwards would be nice. And so I think 50 minutes have passed, Jesse. How is the entertainment so far?
Well, it's unfortunately been very entertaining, but it's come at the expense of some fantastic race cars. But something I've just noticed here is I believe the 197 has been... their withdrawal has been withdrawn. Can we find Jordan Daly out on track? Because this is indicating to me that he's still out there, and he is. There's the 197. Now that car DNF'd, meaning that it left the race course, but it has come back out of the garage. It is pounding around. I wonder if they've been prompted by the incidents by Broshek and Surinach to come back out here and pick up some of these places. He is, at least according to my math, just one lap behind Broshek in the 14 for 7th place. So that's very interesting. I've never seen, I know that you can do it, but I've never seen a car unretire like that.
Well, it's 1 hour and a 20-minute race long, so I'm not surprised because anything could happen. You know, as Tom Coronel says, everyone could crash at the last turn and you can still run away with the victory. Bit optimistic, of course, but it could happen. Who knows? And Jordan Daly is back on the track again and maybe trying to get some better fortune this time with his unretirement. Of course, as we look at Hyla. The LMP2 now getting lapped by a Porsche. Not sure who that is. Could be lapped in the Porsche 14. There. Could be indeed. That's the 14 of Kuchek. Then lapping also the leader in LMP2, Dijkstra. Dijkstra colonizing America again with, of course, the Dutch livery and the Dutch nationality. Always a pleasure to see. So I'm definitely rooting for him, Jesse.
Wow, can't believe you said that on the broadcast, but there you have it. Dijkstra out in front by 0.3 of a second. It's as close as it possibly could be. Hyla needs to be careful about this. When you're racing for a championship, it's one of those things where you've got to be very careful. You could take yourself out in an instant. You will have seen, or they will have been aware that several cars have already taken themselves out here. At a certain point, it's almost better to finish second than not at all. So we'll see what they end up doing. They are following incredibly close. Dykstra, by the way, who's leading, is third in that championship race. So it is slightly more urgent than it may appear, or I may make it sound like it is. But these two cars, nose to tail still, only about a second between the GTP leaders as well, Leach over Filippi. So they were nose to tail a little while ago in GTP. They haven't really broken up much at all. It's about 3 seconds back to Sindelar in that group as well. Going back to the GT3 field, watching Kevin Boss trying to not be a part of the overarching traffic story here today, and also trying to run down Anderson. That is Anderson's Audi just up in front. That car did not come down pit lane. The tires are probably quite damaged on the 221 Lamborghini, and Kevin Boss in his 31 Wheatley Slow Porsche trying to make up those spots, and I reckon he will do, just trying to limp that car home, or limp that car to the pit lane for their mandatory stop anyway, is Anderson. Remember, Anderson was running P2. They had that solo car incident in the bus stop, and now they're down to fourth. I'm surprised they didn't fall further, Dan. They were set backwards at the exit of the bus stop for a while.
Yeah, indeed. But if my mind can remember it qualifying correctly, I think Kevin Boss, didn't he start last? If Kevin Boss started P10, then he gained lots of positions up to P5 now. And Kevin Boss doing a great job in that Porsche, currently trying to maybe get that position of Anderson as well. Looks like it. He has a great toe, so maybe move into the next chicane seems promising. But let's see what the number 31 of Kevin Boss can do in this race. Of course, almost past the 1 hour mark, and a lot can still happen, especially around Watkins Glen, the nice flowing track. And we've seen a lot of crashes. I think we'll predict we'll see some more crashes as well. And yeah, Kevin Boss still racing, now getting lapped by that hypercar. Ooh, that's really brave. And I think that's Jordan Daly.
No, that was Billy Octane, I'm pretty sure. Oh, and it's a spin.
No.
It's a spin from Anderson. It's the second time it's happened. Trying to enter the boot section. It's a downhill sweeping corner, and I think maybe the GTP spooked them a little bit and locked up. Yeah, the GTP down the inside on the dirtier side of the racetrack, and somehow Kevin Boss able to drive away from that and returning to pit lane as Anderson after a couple of self spins. And that will drop the car that was running in P2 all the way down, and that will promote Boss up into fourth. Roof enjoys a nearly 6-second lead on Macha, who also enjoys about a 6-second lead on Daniel Merchant in third place. Boss is in no man's land, or the John Dalton zone, as we refer to it. Though, just as I say that, Ada Wolf is not that far behind Boss for fourth place, as we see Piotr Dominicus, who had their early incident. They came in at the end of lap number 1, and they have done a stop. That wasn't their mandatory stop as far as I know.
No.
This was moments ago with Rowe having a huge crash in the chicane.
Yeah.
And that is, we saw them in the pit lane, in fact, when we were looking at the Anderson car, and Rowe sitting there as well on the hook, trying to get that car repaired. I'm being told that Anderson will not rejoin the race, or at least for the time being. That car has gone to the garage as the 221 has parked that Lamborghini.
Some races in the GTP category GTD category has gone from bad to worse, sadly. And the mistake we just saw with Anderson, it might seem on screen it's such an easy mistake, but I can tell you from experience, it's not. iRacing, when you're not on the correct racing line, is so sensitive, especially on the outside, so sensitive to just maybe lock a rear tire, or the rear axle snaps a little bit too much, and then it's really hard to catch the car back up to a normal state of racing. And that's what we saw with Anderson. And again, just pointing out, it looks like an obvious mistake, but actually it's a pretty common, especially in iRacing, that is not known for having the most grip here in or from any sim racing games in general. Just saw a little yellow flag with Kevin Boss, maybe that wasn't off, but yeah, it's really easy make such an unfortunate error for GTP and LMP2 or any car here in iRacing. As we have a nice fight for the top 3 here in the LMP2 category. Of course, a one-make championship, so to speak, a one-make class. Everything is the same, chassis is the same, apart from the setup.
Well, the fight has escalated as Billy Octane has had a little bit of a moment that has taken them off the racetrack. They lost a couple of seconds. We stay with the top 3 in LMP2 for the moment. But yeah, here it is. Just gets completely sideways. But he saves this car, folks. Oh, he doesn't. He hits the wall. He gets it going quite quickly, but significant damage to the front aero of that Porsche. And that's unfortunate, but I thought it was a little less major than it actually was. Here is the number 69. And are they just working through traffic here, or are we about to see something happen? Nope, looks completely fine there. And nope, thought something was going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's completely fine there. What I was going to say is it's escalating, folks. The argument of apple pie is it's progressed to the point where there's a poll up in chat right now, and unfortunately for you, Mr. Bibby, you are losing and losing badly. He is now threatening to shut the stream down, and he's throwing things. He's having a fit. It doesn't change the math. You're losing 83-17, which is kind of how badly America lost in the last World Cup.
Wow.
That's what it felt like anyway.
Wow.
Men's national team, get your stuff together. What's wrong with you?
So Jesse, by who lost America again? Against who?
We lost against everyone. That was the problem. Pay attention.
Of course. Well, back to the racing action here, as we had a close battle for the top spots in LMP2, and we have a close battle for the top spot in the GTP category as well. 2 GTPs at the front, chased by a Porsche. That Porsche is driven by Sindelar, of course, finished P2 last race, and trying to do the same again here, or even better in that Porsche. Seems always to have some good space, especially when you can classify yourself in the podium spots. As we see a car leaving the pit lane, a GTP, it could be Octane, I think it's indeed Octane. And of course, when you're racing in these endurance championship, especially in iRacing and American racing, you might get a blue flag, but if I'm correct, Jesse, you are not totally obliged to give a position back. It's not like F1 blue flags where you have to give the position back. You can keep racing.
Yeah, of course, F1, everybody knows the F1 rule where if you see a blue flag, you are obliged to move out of the way. In almost every other form of motorsport, the blue flag means something completely different. It's an advisory flag letting you know that a quicker car or a quicker class of car is bearing down on you, and be prepared to be overtaken. And that's what that flag typically means. That's what it means here in America as well. And only Formula One does it mean get out of the way. And I think a lot of people get that confused. So yeah, an advisory flag, you're not meant to be, if you're being blue flagged, of course there are rules, you're not meant to block, you're not meant to intentionally impede the faster car when you are blue flagged. That can still get you in trouble the same way it would in open wheel racing. But in general, we say, especially in IMSA typically, you have a great number of turns and opportunities to make it easier on the other driver to get through, to get by. Whether you facilitate that personally by getting out of the way, that's by the by, but you cannot block them and do anything that would cause them any sort of distress. So Billy Octane, we just saw, was out of the pit lane. They have done their stop on lap 15, and that was probably a direct result of them nosing the car into the wall. Eric Conway has put a little sarcasm in the chat. It's going well for the boys. It hasn't gone particularly well for the Triple R armada of cars here today, but it is going quite well if you are Ryan Leach out in front. But the same thing has happened in LMP2 and GTP. The top 3 have all found each other. I suspect that's no small part in due to the lap traffic and the leader taking it a bit more gingerly than some of the other cars. The leader is always the first to get to the traffic, and that's what makes it the hardest on them all, as Sindelar flashing the GT cars third in line, trying to stay with the lead group as they all make their way cleanly. That was excellently done by the top three in GTP, fighting amongst themselves, but also respectfully working the way around lapped GTD traffic.
You can only love the views here, especially with again GTPs managing GTDs. It's that's the spirit of endurance racing. Honestly, just getting by traffic as soon as possible and see if you can take advantage of it, especially in a 24-hour race. You know, everyone always saying a 24-hour race, you need to manage traffic really good, which you of course need to do. And getting held up by one car isn't that much of a problem, but if you get held up by one car continuously and just getting a bad run, then over 24 hours you really lose a lot of time. But of course this race is 1 hour and 20 minutes, and so it's maybe a little bit less important as the battle for P1 still rages on here. Jesse Philippe is still in P2. I wonder when we will see some overtakes here.
Well, what I wonder is maybe somebody comes down the pit lane and does their stop and gets out of this traffic. You would think Philippe, who's been behind Leach for the majority of this race, might consider jumping down pit lane a little bit earlier than they originally had, just add a little bit more fuel, anything to get them out of this. I've always said, being in the middle in a three-way battle like Philippe is, being in the middle is the sucker hole, because the best case scenario is you go up there to the leader and you make it difficult for them and maybe you get the lead, but there's so many bad things that can happen. If Leach slows up Philippe, Sindelar is going to be by Philippe and might take your opportunity away. If Leach makes a bobble and you're unable to capitalize on that, Sindelar does. I've always wanted to either be the lead car that dictates the battle or the car in third that can see all the other cars, and it's just sort of chess at high speed, about 260 kilometers an hour.
Yes, at high speed it is indeed, but chess strategy it is as well on the track. If I was Sindelar right now, I would be fuel saving a lot. Bear in mind, hypercasting is exactly 40 minutes long. This race is 1 hour and 20 minutes long. So that means if you can save some fuel, you will save yourself time in the pit lane and therefore maybe come ahead out of this pack at the end of the pit stop phase. So I think it's, instead of going for an undercut, you should currently fuel save and go for an overcut, because that will save you a lot of time, especially with cold tires and iRacing. Normally the overcut works as well, because on cold tires it's just so rubbish. On iRacing you might just want and choose the overcut, as we see some absolutely magnificent traffic management here at Watkins Glen, Jesse.
Yeah, the GTD cars here doing exactly, if you're a GTP car, that's exactly what you want. The GTD cars are getting blue flagged, and they're racing each other. Yeah, the GTD cars are, but they're respectful. They know that they can stand a lot to lose if they get in the way of the GTPs. If they don't see them, they do something that is unpredictable, they get taken out. So it's better just to give up the apex and maybe give the guy behind you a slight advantage just to get the GTPs out of the way. That way you can resume your battle uninhibited, unabated by anybody else. That's the way to do it. Top 5 in GTP have not done a pit stop yet, and that's because the top 5 have not been involved in a major incident thus far. The battle in LMP2 has calmed down ever so slightly. Dijkstra has carved out a 2-second lead on Hyla, but it's not clean sailing for Hyla, because Peter Roche in the CLR number 404, CLR stands for Connection Lost Racing, by the way, has caught Hyla some time ago, but now starting to pile on the pressure for P2.
Yeah, let's see if he can not crack under that pressure, because it's very easy to do, especially at Watkins Glen. We've seen it at the start. It's so easy to make a mistake. It's like Monaco without walls, but it sort of has the walls further away. But it's just a risky track in general, and he's really on it here, Roger. He could maybe go for a move on the main straight. Of course, it's flat out for every car, so it is as well for these LMP2s, and he might want to look for a move in the chicane. It's risky, but if you pull it off, it could just work, but he needs to go on the outside, so I think it's risky, and he indeed backs off, Jesse.
Oh, he backs off maybe just a second too late. Lost a lot of time there to Hyla. Hyla came up the S's and immediately went down to the inside at the top of the hill. That was purposefully done to not give Roche an opportunity to sneak down the inside, forcing him to go around the long way, and Peter nearly waited too long to brake and turn back to the right, and it looked like Hyla had a huge run through there and opened the gap. Something has happened to the number 50 Porsche of Sindelar. They have crashed out of P3. They're down to fourth right now, and they have towed that race car back to the garage. We're in the chicane. That was the third place car in GTP, and another unforced error in the bus stop.
I can only feel sorry. You've been in this fight for so long, and then just it takes one little mistake and it ruins your whole race. So I really feel for Sindelar here, and yeah, he won't be happy with himself that he possibly gave a win away, because you could look at it like that, and it's really unfortunate. It promotes the Cadillac of lap up to third, and so we have an all Cadillac top 3 again. Fernand here in a BMW in P4. The gap is 42 seconds to P3, so I don't think there will be any battles for that anytime soon, unless the pit lane may cause some chaos, but who knows. 46 minutes remaining, and yeah, we had an eventful race thus far. Let's see how the race unfolds itself further. We have Wolf chasing Kevin Boss. Kevin Boss now currently in P3, started last, but has moved himself up all the way to P3, and I think, Jesse, the GTDs are just in their pit stop phase.
Yeah, they certainly are. Macha in the pit lane. Roof goes through. They still stay out there on the racetrack. And this battle right here is well and truly underway. We talked about Ada Wolf catching Kevin Boss a little while ago. That has certainly happened. Boss defending now on Wolf. Wolf taking a completely different line here, coming back to the short course. And Wolf just sort of stalking Boss right now. And some corners quite close to either car. Duck down pit lane. No, they do not. They're going to stay out. But for Bart Macha, they have elected that now is the correct time to bring that Ferrari down pit lane to the attention of the team. Sindelar did tow. You can see the yellow GTP sitting in pit lane. That car is not retired. They are still repairing the car. And what might that mean for Jordan Daly? Remember, Daly was one of the first casualties, perhaps the first casualty in the race. And scary moment here as some of the prototypes coming through, mobile chicane style through the S's. And that was a very scary moment, as I believe that's Hyla and Roche going at it.
Yeah, it is. I blinked and I missed the moment. It went incredibly fast, but the LMP2's back at it again, and so their battle rages on. Of course, Hyla finished P2 last time around and Roger P1, and Roger probably tries to translate it into a better position again, but Hyla wants to keep that P2 to his name as well. So I think we'll have a tough fight, and Hyla is definitely not a tough cookie. Or he is a tough cookie to crack, I'm sorry. Yeah, let's see what we can expect here. Of course, the LMP2s, they have, with the GTPs as well, a lot of dirty air. And especially when you're driving around such a flowing track. Oh, Hyla almost in the wall, and it gives the opportunity to Roche to possibly overtake him on the inside of the next corner. Coming to the last corner, he has the outside as well, and maybe wants to try a switchback to get to the inside.
Oh, they're both coming in!
They're both coming in, indeed.
Contact!
What an awesome turn of events, Jesse.
Oh my goodness, they make contact coming into pit lane. Luckily, they were both on the same page that they were coming in on this lap. Otherwise, that could have been disastrous. I've definitely seen cars get wedged into the pit lane here at Watkins, Glen before, but they both had the same idea. They're actually probably a little bit miffed that they had the same idea. So Roche and Hyla into the lane, a little bit of contact for good measure as they get to the line, trying to get down to pit lane speed. 2 cars have yet to make the stop in LMP2. Benjamin Heilman inherits the lead over Tom Bryant, the 796 and the 244 respectively. Brochek here, continuing to drive around another car that had their issues earlier on, and they are pounding around looking to pick up some of the scraps, if you will, from the race. Sindelar has repaired the number 50. They have left pit lane, and they apparently have stayed just in front of this car of Brochek for the moment. Meanwhile, Ada Wolf has reloaded and re-caught Kevin Boss for P2.
Yeah, let's see what happens here. Of course, on the outside of the following turn, and that would be quite opportunistic as the GTP of that is Jordan Daly, no, perhaps Bruchek, maybe Octane as well. But they're getting traffic, and so this battle will be split up in a moment. Actually, it will be split up now, and Kevin Boss gaining an advantage. And that's really when you're sitting in a GTD, you're really a sitting duck when the traffic comes around, and you really don't know what to expect, or if you can run away with the fortune of the GTPs or the LMP2s. And in this case, Ada Wolf didn't get some fortune, but as we can see, he is a really fast driver, and I think he'll be back on the back of Kevin Boss once again.
Yeah, Ada will eventually get back up there, but for right now, it's another reset, another lap, and another, well, the same story for Ada Wolf, but they will definitely get back. If they call him 4 times, you can catch him a 5th time. That's what I say. Ryan Leach and Felipe still in a battle with themselves, all alone at the top in GTP. So many of their fellow competitors have fallen by the wayside. Single car incidents have whittled down the competitive field in the top category, but these two have been absolutely glued to one another since the drop of the green flag, and they stay exactly that way. They both still have a pit stop to give, and the question is, Dan, will they come in this time?
Perhaps we have 41 minutes to go, so I presume they could still, if someone fuel saved, they could still go for another lap. Of course, Felipe is the car who really chased after Leach, so I could see Felipe having some fuel savings going on, but indeed they stay out, Jesse.
Yeah, they definitely stay out this time, so I imagine these cars will be in 1 lap's time, as they've been separated by the, I think that's Tom Bryant's car, in fact, the HWT liveried car, as they go through, and they'll come in together. The important thing to know is, for each other, is that they've got to get the pit road entry right, because if Leach comes in and slows up, checks up a little extra, just to make sure they don't ruin their pit stopper's speed, they're going to check up right into Felipe's lap. Felipe could end up turning Leach. So the other problem is that if you psych yourself out with that and you think, okay, I'm going to maximize this so I don't get, ran into, or I don't have contact with the car behind, you can end up speeding and going over that limit. The same thing with Felipe here. Felipe could absolutely be on it, trying to maximize pit entry to get as close as possible to maybe leapfrogging in pit lane. Felipe could also do the opposite, and that's back off just a little bit to make sure they get a clean run, because as close as these two cars are, you won't be able to see the pit cone or the line, because it'll be under the car in front of you, so you kind of have to guess. I'd be curious to see how this works, as I imagine both these cars will be in this time. But, oh yeah, he's either backed off on purpose or he let that happen as they come back around, and they're neither one's coming in this time. These cars must have been able, or maybe just the track, they've been able to save a little bit more fuel somehow. They have not come in at the halfway point.
I think there's a really good reason, really obvious reason why Felipe hasn't attempted to overtake Leach. The obvious answer is fuel saving, of course. Why wouldn't he attack Leach if you can just fuel save and maybe get in front of Leach at the end of the pit stop phase? As we see, Jordan Daly has a yellow flag, and I thought I saw some smoke. Yes, we did. You did. Jordan Daly indeed spinning, and it's gone from bad to worse again, Jesse.
Well, let's see. He loses it coming out of the bus stop chicane, flips around backwards, and I believe he drove it off the track there on purpose, but comes back to rest on the racing surface there as some of the cars come through, and he's high centered a little bit as well. And what was already a bad day turns into a nightmare for the 197. And here he is, just, I believe this is it, going to park the car, and that's going to be it for Daly. I've said that once already and been wrong, so who's to say? Been informed, we knew that the top two were PSUK cars, Team Esports cars, but apparently we're being told that they're actively working together right now, and that's all well and good. As Ryan Leach is in the pit lane, that's all well and good until somebody gets to win this race in about 37 minutes time.
I don't want to say I called it, but Felipe indeed stays out and possibly has fuel saved, and by doing so, I expect he will be coming out in front of Leach after the pit stop phase. Of course, like we discussed earlier, the fuel tank is exactly 1 hour and 20 minutes, so that's exactly 2 stints. And if you fuel save, you have to tank less because it's of course exactly 40 minutes. You have to tank less, and thus you will lose less time. Dijkstra still in P1 in the LMP2 class, and is almost. It looks almost like he's chasing the GTP of that is Fernand, and he is in P3 now, but he will drop back to P4 after pit stop phases. We can see the BMW maybe having a little bit of a larger fuel tank, or just fuel saving as well, but Dijkstra remains in P1, of course, with that beautiful Dutch livery, and so the battle of P2 really has faded away really shortly in this race, and let's see what will happen further.
Yeah, Dijkstra and Roche both pitted on the same lap, but clearly Dijkstra has found something after the stop and has definitely pulled away. Dijkstra did pull away earlier on as well. It wasn't from Roche at the time. I believe it was from Hyla, but both Hyla and Roche caught Dijkstra earlier on, so I wonder if maybe here in the next 20 minutes we will see something similar. And by the way, I was wrong. Jordan Daly is not retiring the 197. They're going to tow it, they're going to repair it, and he's going to drive it. And I quote, "I paid for it, I'm driving it." Now that is a race car driver's spirit right there.
And Felipe is into the pit lane as well, and so I'm really curious who will be coming out in front. Will it be Leach or will it Felipe? As that one lap.
Oh man!
Oh wow! That's some traffic management right there, Jesse.
No, it wasn't, Dan. But sometimes you're just lucky that some of the additions over the years, about 15 years ago, that was a gravel trap. They changed that. Too many cars were going off in the gravel. One flipped, in fact, and they decided to pave that part of the racetrack. The drivers reckoned if it was paved, they could save it. And, well, every single race here since that's been paved, drivers have been proving that they weren't talking complete nonsense. And that was one of them right there. Had that been a gravel trap, that had been a horrific accident. Because it was paved, I believe that was Sindelar, was able just to drive around the car that didn't see him and keep going. Not the best way through that corner, but definitely safer than it being gravel. We'll see how this continues to work with Felipe coming out of the pit lane now. Leach was in 1 lap prior to that. We know by virtue of our chat that they are working together as teammates, and I would hazard the guess, Dan, that was orchestrated on the stop as well. One car coming in 1 lap, one coming in the other, to avoid any potential issues that I mentioned earlier.
Indeed, but fact is, and fact remains, Felipe has taken over the lead from Leach and is now leading this 1.2-hour race here at Watkins Glen. Let's see if he can pull away. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe Leach is faster anyway, and some team orders will be coming into play. Who knows? It's not F1, but team orders are still a thing, of course. Here at RCI, LMP2 fight still raging on, as we can see it in the foreground. And let's see how that pans out. We spoke earlier, Jesse, today about maybe possible rain here at iRacing. Can confirm rain will launch at season 2, and it's in March, I believe. So we will have rain, and let's see if we will have RCI raining races on iRacing, of course. But it's great we will finally have some rain on iRacing. iRacing, of course, started in 2009. Every other sim has rain. iRacing has needed to follow, and they did. It has taken a while, though.
Yeah, well, some things take a while to perfect, and there's no use launching something before it's ready. And sometimes RCI, which typically stands for Racing Club International, sometimes stands for Raining Club International. And I would feel it's highly likely that we will have events, almost certainly starting with an exhibition in the rain, just to get a feel for it. And hopefully we'll be able to bring that to you live here on RCI TV when that occurs. Today, no real threat of rain, completely overcast for the entire event. It was like that in practice and qualifying as well. Though the sky looks threatening, it will not be a bother to us today. The only thing that's been a bother is some of the braking zones and the curbs. A ton of single car spins has been the theme of the day. But other than that, only the one real car-to-car contact that changed the course of the race, that between the GTD leaders. And that's how this man, Roof, got themselves into the lead over Kevin Boss for the time being. Martin Macha is the leader on the road of the cars that have pitted. No contest between them and Merchant for the first car off of pit lane currently. Piotr Dominicus has come and gone off the pit road a while ago. Remember, they came in at the end of lap number 1 after their spin, but they made a subsequent stop, their actual stop, and have rejoined the fray. A lot of GTPs have found themselves in a spot of bother and drama, and that has basically left us with 3 cars untouched to this point. Felipe and Leach, who are teammates, and Lep, who is now in 3rd, and all the rest of them have either made an unscheduled stop to the pit lane or an unscheduled stop to the Armco.
Unscheduled stop to the Armco. Totally right what you say right there, and well, it seems almost a habit, almost a traditional to just touch the barriers. I saw Peter Royce in the background as we just started this lap touch the barriers a little bit, and so he might have some damage on the side of that LMP2 as we see a 3 wide moment, and that will be really difficult to manage traffic there. Some LMP2 GTPs and GTD, and Leach is yeah, he's lost the connection to Felipe because of traffic, and might we see Felipe running away with the win here, Jesse?
Yeah, it certainly could be, and that might be all she wrote, as Leach has left a little bit on the table here. And I wonder if that might come back to them, though, traffic being what it is. It's hard to really say. A lot of the cars are sort of broken up into these little groups. Should be easier from now on out for traffic, but just as I say that, the battle for P2 is on. Hyla has taken it from Peter Roche. He's trying to get it back around the outside. Has a look as we thunder up to the top of the circuit, and it's going to be just about clear before we get there. Positioning into the corner, it's a better run from Roche, but it's not going to matter. Excellently held by Hyla. Hyla will get to keep P2 as Dijkstra just drives away into the sunset, 6 seconds ahead of the group. Roche in the CLR car left fumbling just a little bit. Just want to say hi to the Roker Poker in chat. With I tell you what, I've heard of your fame as Kevin Boss brings the wheelie slow portion down pit lane. I've heard about your fame and everything around Sunderland. I also saw your name scribbled on a couple of bathroom walls. So nice to have you with us.
Yeah, I can hear some Ash Bibby really.
That's a British joke for all the British people out there.
I'm hearing some laughs in my right
I think
ear.
Roker's in Sunderland, isn't it? Ash, you know this, right? It is. Okay, yeah, I got one. I know my geography. Oh, close racing here.
Wow.
As here comes Peter Roche. Got stuck behind a lap car. did Hyla. Roche going around the outside. Hyla down to the inside. He's got it. He's going to slide a little bit wide. Here comes Peter Roche back on him. He's going to have the inside. No, he's not. He's going to get cut off by Hyla as they head up the S's this time. Still looking to the inside. That becomes the outside for Roche. They're still side by side as they head up the S's in the top of the hill. Roche is in the same position, though maybe a quarter of a long side, front to rear axle. It's the same result, though. He had a good look. He had an opportunity, and Hyla somehow outlasts the attack after they got wedged in behind a GTD car. That was incredible racing.
Absolutely balls to the walls here at RCI for the last 30 minutes of this race, as the GTP maybe interferes with this battle, but I can tell you Hyla definitely took an off track there to escape the LMP2 of Peter Roche there. But some amazing racing that might just get a break by this GTP. I think that's the GTP of Sindelar. Yes, it is indeed. And Peter Roche trying everything to stay with Hyla, but it might not be enough. Of course, he has a nice toe, so let's see if he can close up. But there was some amazing action, Jesse, here in the LMP2 field.
Yeah, in the second half of the race here, you'd think that a lot of these cars, they'd be done battling and they'd be sort of stuck where they are, but that's not the case. A lot of battles going on. Some of that's helped out by traffic. Some of that's just the natural flow of the racetrack. And, of course, even more of that is down to being out of position anyway because of the early race antics. And what a great race, I got to say, put on by Hyla and Roche here. They could, at any interval, have had some significant contact and ruined this battle at any point during this race. Of course, this is not new between the two of these guys, but they have put on a great show. They've shown excellent respect for each other, and they continue to battle it out. And Roche isn't done. They're not getting left by Hyla as they continue this on. I would very much just like to drive away or have the next 20 or so minutes of this race be calm and just sort of by themselves, of course, championship-wise, because it's going to get close between the top three and LMP2, but Peter Roche uninterested in allowing anybody to have a moment unto themselves. And we're right on board Roche's number 4 for Connection Loft Racing, Dallara, clearly still in the slipstream range of Hyla in front for P2.
Yeah, in the slipstream, as you said, but also dirty air. As I mentioned earlier in the race, I think it's just so much dirty air coming off these cars. Of course, it's not as extreme as a Formula 1 car or a GTP car, especially because Watkins Glen is such a flowing circuit, especially in the high-speed corners. It will just come back around to bite you in the neck, and I think that's what a lot of LMPs and GTPs struggle here with. It's just so much dirty air coming to bite them in the race, and because of that, just not really able to make an overtake, especially not at the bus stop, because, well, it's a little bit risky maybe in the later stages of the race, but the bus stop really is almost the only place where you can get a proper overtake done. You have a long slipstream range, so you can just gain and gain, but because of the risk, it's a little bit too much for a lot of drivers, Jesse. And so yes, someone really needs to make an unforced error to gain positions, and well, we have seen that in the earlier stages of the race. So let's see if Peter Roche can do anything, but I doubt it. Back to the GTDs now.
Back to the GTDs indeed. You know, I was just looking over some of the championship points, and they have been all over the place for all of the different classes today. Of course, Lucas Christek came in your championship leader at GTP. I keep saying that. But yeah, in GTP, Christek's your championship leader, but Luca Filippi, who's in P2, some 19 points behind them. They're leading this race. They're looking like the eventual winner. Ryan Leach looking like your eventual second place, who's down in fifth. That's going to completely change up that battle with Sindelar in the mix as well. Justak in LMP2 today. What can you say? I mean, Hyla out here doing what they can. Dijkstra leading this race in third place in that champ. They're going to claw their way back in fully into this battle is Justin Dijkstra, and Hyla as well is going to get a bit closer. And then you go to GTD, which is what we're currently watching here, and you're going to it looks like right now you're going to have a driver who in the form of Roof isn't Yannick Roof, who is in 7th place, who this one race could go all the way to about 3rd place or so in the championship standings. And you've also got Bart Macha up there as well. It's incredible. This is going to be a race today. A lot of drivers are going to look at and they're going to say this is the race that changed the complexion of the championship, because as close as it has been all season long, today is the day where a lot of these battles have been completely reset.
Yeah, and it's awesome to see what a halfway point can do. It can be a turning point here at the event, as Peter Roche maybe wanting to look down the inside for P2. Hyla almost gets tapped there at the rear, and so Peter Roche can make an advantage of that. On the outside, Hyla on the inside again, but Peter Roche maybe having the better exit, and it's side by side. Contact side by side, and that action has been undone. But Peter Roche has overtaken Hyla for P2.
Oh! Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that Porsche was not going to give them room or not see them. And at the last second, the Porsche allowed them just enough room to get through there. Roche has got up to P2 over Hyla. Hyla had a horrible couple of corners. And as they rejoined the short course, Hyla could not get traction that allowed Roche to get fully by them around the outside. But even then, the drama was not over yet. Wow, what a battle.
What a battle it is indeed, and it still rages on. Of course, Hyla is not done with Peter Roche, and so can say the same for Peter Roche with Hyla. And I'll expect some great racing with 22 minutes to go. Of course, already past the halfway mark, and time flies when you're having fun. Especially in this Watkins Glen race. And even though we have a lot of dirty air, we have loads of fun and entertaining as well. So let's see what the race can unfold. Of course, with 21 minutes to go, a lot can still happen, Jesse.
It certainly can. An update from Rowe and the Red Line machines. Sad night, says Rowe, for both of the machines. And yeah, just unfortunate sort of events that have unfolded for some of the cars here tonight. Head up, chin up though. There's always next week and another race out there on the horizon. But we appreciate it, Ro. We appreciate you coming in and giving us your thoughts on the race tonight as the 74 has towed that Audi back to the pit lane. It's going to be a lot of drivers, Dan, isn't there, tonight, that's going to sit down and reflect and say that was a race where we could have made our move, but we didn't. But just as many drivers that seemingly like they did make their move tonight.
Yeah, indeed it is, and it may be all different next race. It was a little bit different in Virginia, and so again, some drivers have bad luck the next race, and some drivers have bad luck the other races. That's what a championship is for. That's why a championship isn't one round. It counts for consistency, and just reeling in the points maybe can even give you a better chance for the championship than getting a P1 the next race and then P20 the other race. And that's where a championship is for again, and we're clearly seeing that here at the iRacing IMSA RCI Championship, as Leach has closed up a little bit and is approaching the mirrors again of Felipe in the GTP category. I didn't expect it, but let's see if Leach can hold on and surpass not only the dirty air coming off that GTP Cadillac, but Felipe the driver as well.
Hello to the, I believe, the Peter Roche fan club who's joined us in chat. We see you folks. We enjoy that you're enjoying your driver, your buddy, your pal, your teammate out there absolutely getting after it. That pass was 40 plus minutes in the making, and it might not be over yet, as Hyla's still there in the background, though now losing just a little bit of time. Every time Roche made a move on Hyla, the gap expanded, but Roche was able to gain back the time, and finally opportunity presented itself. The 404 for CLR out in P2. Again, just moments ago, I talked about the championship and how this is going to drastically alter the standings for next week. That's another one right there. Roche getting by Hyla. That, again, helps Dijkstra, who's leading this race in LMP2. And, wow, Hyla falling back. That's not what the 213 wanted to see, obviously. And by the way, it's not done in GTP. Felipe had a 4-second lead, you'll recall. He doesn't anymore. Leach has caught him again.
Yeah, indeed. Like we said a few minutes prior, Leeds has indeed been there again, and let's see if he can do anything. As we see the number 5 Ferrari of Macchia just cruising in P2, really driving in no man's land, Jesse. And you have those races as a driver as well, but it's hard to keep your focus like this. If you're really in no man's land, the GTPs really have to keep you at your toes to make sure you know what you're still doing. Of course, it gets a little bit boring when you're just driving and driving corner after corner after corner. It's really easy to maybe lock the rears, spin out, possibly even damage your car, and throw away a good podium result. So especially the drivers that are driving in no man's land really need to keep their head cool and keep their head focused as well. And of course, that's a part of endurance racing.
Certainly is. We've got just about 17 and a half minutes left here of Watkins Glen, and we're glad that all of you are with us. If you haven't already, please consider liking and subscribing to the RCI TV YouTube channel. We'll be right back with you tomorrow night, Friday, for the continuation of the ACC GT2 Championship. I believe it's the season finale, or it may or may not be the season finale. Let me just check. It isn't the season finale. I'm crazy. We are going to Misano, though, for round number 3 in the GT2 Championship in ACC. You'll have Austin and Tim with you on the call with that. Stewie back behind the cameras after a absence of doing that. I wonder if he even remembers how OBS works. We'll see tomorrow night. And, of course, we'll be back with you next Thursday for more IMSA road racing action. We'll be at Laguna Seca. And the last couple of weeks have been tough for these GTP drivers. I can't wait to see how they tackle the very different nature of Laguna Seca. Small track, they'll do a minute something lap there, a minute dead nearly lap around that joint. And the corkscrew, also a big part of the character of that track. So round number 5 in this championship coming at you next Thursday. And of course, Night Owl Season 17 starts up this Saturday night as well. Still time to sign up for all the upcoming events and get involved today. And if you are looking for something a bit more adventurous, I would suggest the AMS2 Truck Series Racing Championship. And no, we're not talking about the Brazilian race truck. We're talking about the gigantic Mercedes Scania type truck, the lorry racing, if you will. That race will be this coming Tuesday on AMS2, racerci.com. Check it out for more information about that. And just announced the new Monday champ that starts in March. It's going to be touring cars and GT4 multi-class. That's starting on March 4th. Still time to sign up and get in the race, racerci.com.
Speaking about Laguna Seca, I'm sorry, we're currently driving at Watkins Glen. We talked about no room for error at Watkins Glen. Well, there's almost even more no room for error here at Laguna Seca. Of course, the only room for error you really have, that's not the tarmac, is the curbing. And after the curbing, it just stops and it's a gravel trap, and you might just find yourself in the wall if you touch it or spin out or anything like it. So Watkins Glen is pretty extreme. Well, Laguna Seca is even more extreme in that sense, Jesse. So as you say, I can't wait to see what that race brings. And after that, of course, we have Road Atlanta and Sebring for the final round in this IMSA Endurance Championship. As we see, P3 in the GTP category, also driving really in no man's land, just like P2 in the GTD category. Lap just the final Cadillac of the top 3, just cruising home really with 40 minutes ago. There's nothing really to lose and there's nothing really to gain here in this race for Lap. And so yeah, he's just cruising home. The field has spread it a bit, and of course, as natural for the end of the race. It's not the start, and so the gaps are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm glad the race is 1 hour and 20 minutes long. So yeah, let's see if anything chaotic happens in this race, as we see a pit stop for the LMP2s. That could be someone that is, yeah, this P6, number 46 of the LMP2, just heading into Glen.
Quite curious how they're going to settle it next week as well, and so is the Roker Poker, who has said surely they'll have to be on stilts for the GTPs and the LMP2s to go down the corkscrew. Yeah, you'd think that. Of course, a lot of people don't realize this, but Laguna Seca is a famous open-wheel racing track here in America. IndyCar, in fact, still goes there. They have done for the past 30 or so years, but other open-wheel series as well that also have incredibly low ground clearance, but also prototypes have raced there before. The previous era of IMSA car prototype, the DPIs, have raced at that track, and it doesn't seem right, but due to the contour of the corkscrew, they're able to go down there quite smoothly, though it is still a 5-story drop from the top of the corkscrew all the way to the bottom. Absolutely crazy stuff. By the way, I think the Great Pie debate has been settled. There has been some vote tampering by Ash Bibby. He's employed his friends, family, and loved ones to try and throw the vote, but he's been unsuccessful. 72% of you in the chat have proven that you enjoy apple pie, which I think just makes you a human. I have no idea what Ash has been going on about apple pie, but he has been defeated today in the crucible of democracy. Thank you all for your votes.
Yeah, if it the stream is ended here, Ash is going home. He can't take it anymore.
He's already home. What he's gonna do? He's gonna turn the chair around and pout. That's what he's gonna do.
Going to his spiritual home.
Ash has ordered the cars to come down pit lane and stop. He's upset. He's throwing the toys out the pram. He's not happy one bit. I do also, it makes you feel better, Ash, I do know people who do not enjoy a delicious, crispy, and warm apple pie as well. And though I don't understand them, I still respect their life decisions. Speaking of respecting life decisions, hey, do you want to get faster at sim racing? Maybe a little bit more consistent? Maybe get esports ready? Well, Driver 61 is the place to go. Of course, if you're looking to brush up on your skills, they offer one-on-one driver coaching and full-on racing schools to get you quicker, consistent, and better at your hobby. Go to driver61.com, check it out, and learn more about them. And while you do that, you're going to need some excellent sim racing gear. We recommend going to digitalmotorsport.com because it's your one-stop shop for everything sim racing, from sim rigs to sim rims. They have all the top products from all the top brands. And hey, while you're there, check out their sim rig builder. Build the sim rig of your budget or your dreams at digitalmotorsport.com. While you have the skill and you have the equipment, you're still going to need a setup. And for that, you go to gosetups.com. If you're racing an ACC, of course, they offer all of the cars for the current patch, and that includes the brand new GT2 cars. And you can find all of that and all the packages they offer, all those cars and more, at gosetups.com. Special thank you to AK Esports for all the help that they provide us here on the back end, and for more information on how they can help you with your sim racing esports events and series, go to akesports.it. And last but surely not least, in fact quite the opposite, the leader in direct drive sim racing hardware, fanatec.com. They've recently added bundles to their website, so if you haven't been in a while, go check them out. Use our affiliate link in the description. While you go, it lets them know that we sent you. We certainly appreciate that. fanatec.com, as it looks like Lep has had a major incident that has dropped them off of the racetrack. That car is in the pit lane currently. I don't know what's happened to third place in GTP. Dan, what happened here?
Oh, we have a replay here. There's Kevin Boss. Oh, ooh, keeps it out of the wall. No, doesn't keep it out of the wall. As indeed Fernandez looks like he was trying to get by Kevin Boss, but just a little bit too enthusiastic on the steering.
Oh, again! Kevin Boss gets shunted out of, I suspect they were in 4th, and that was Lep in 3rd place in GTP.
Oh,
so
no.
A massive collision. Do my eyes deceive me, Dan, or was that Kevin Boss 2 times in a row coming towards turns 11 with a prototype car? They skate the first time, but the second time they just get ran into the back of, and that has brought the 3rd place car of Lep into pit lane. They've repaired the car, and the yellow car in the middle of your picture here out of the pit lane. No damage done on the scoring board because the pack was so drawn out that lost him a massive amount of time if something were to happen to the 2 leaders, of course, over a minute behind. But just an unfortunate scenario here late in the race.
Your eyes do not deceive you, indeed. It's such unfortunate. Kevin Boss was driving such a good race, and to get taken out like this in the final 8 minutes of the race is absolutely heartbreaking for Kevin Boss. Such a shame, but yeah, that's endurance racing. It happens sadly with every car. Almost every car on the grid. It could happen to you maybe in the next race, and maybe you'll avoid an incident in the other race. So really unfortunate for Kevin Boss, but we have to keep on racing, so Kevin Boss is also has to keep racing as we see the GTP of Lep, and he will go into pit lane. You could say he could try and stay out excuse me, and stay in front of Sindelar, but he doesn't.
No, that's interesting. That's the second time that car's been in. They pitted immediately after the contact. They're back in the pit lane again, is Lep, and I imagine they either didn't get it all fixed, but that has dropped them down to 4th place as Sindelar, this car here, the number 50, has gone through, and they are now up into P3, and that's excellent for their championship hopes here at the midway point. In chat, it looks like the 3-time night-out champ. It's not 3-time night-out. It's Stig. It's Les Stevenson asking who has the Speed Juice fastest lap in the race order. Well, Janjic has just ran the quickest lap in GTD. It was a 44.144. Actually, don't know who's ran the quickest lap in GTP to this point, but I imagine it's either Felipe or Leach in the race thus far. My money would be on Felipe for the quickest lap overall, but as for a legitimate time, we'll try and get back to you on that, as we missed it when it popped up. A green lap time on the far right-hand corner of the timing and scoring box. That's the quickest lap for that specific car. If that lap time's purple, that is the quickest of all for that particular class, and it only shows the quickest lap of all time for a moment or so.
Yeah, indeed. So we saw just the fastest lap time driven in the GTD category. And so for the ones who don't know what might have happened to Lep, he got some damage. And on the iRacing screen, if you're driving, you have the optional repairs and the repairs you absolutely have to do. However, the suspension sometimes doesn't get fully taken into those required repairs, and because of that you have to stay in for the optional repairs as well, otherwise you basically can't drive. And that could have happened to Lep, not saying it did, but it could be well, a misunderstanding with the pit repair requirements for that GTP hypercar, of course. Now with 5 minutes to go, the battle for P3 in LMP2 seems almost decided. Did we get a change for the lead, Jesse, in LMP2?
Yeah, Benjamin Heilman's now in the lead. They've got by Dijkstra. I don't know how Heilman's done that. They've had to come through Dijkstra, Roach, and Heila to get to the lead. Benjamin has done. Oh wait, I don't know how that's happened. Dijkstra is coming out of the pit lane. I'm not entirely sure, but what we're looking at on the right-hand side, the times are now the fastest laps of the race, so we can tell you that Leach has the quickest time in GTP. It's a 1:29.040. That's the quickest of anybody in that category. Sindelar is roughly 1.5 tenths thereabout off of that fastest time, and that's the quickest of all there. And in LMP2, Dijkstra has the quickest time by about 2/100ths of a second, a 32.423, as Dijkstra's gone back into the lead. Now that's interesting. These LMP2s have double pitted in this race. I wonder if maybe they've had to. But moving on to the GTDs, the quickest time in GTD outside of Roof, who's done a 44.8. The next nearest and the quickest of all has actually been Janjic. It's been a 44.144 that we documented a little bit ago.
Terrible, sorry for the confusion there. Oh, and that's who's that? That's Tom Bryant. Can he keep it out of the wall? He somehow...
Yes, look at this man!
He does make it out of the wall. Wow, absolutely great save by Tom Bryant, and saves himself some repair time. And awesomely done.
Billy Octane's just crashed.
It was a mistake at Tom Bryant's end, but it was an awesome save with some great imagery there. But Tom Bryant of course loses sometimes, lost some time, but doesn't lose any positions thus far. Octane has made a mistake, perhaps. We can see a yellow flag, and we can see a replay of it now. So coming out of the loop here, just a little bit on the grass. Oh,
what on earth? He just speared off right there.
It could perhaps be a force feedback issue or some system issue. I can only assume it is, because, well, you wouldn't naturally spear off into the distance and just not turn your wheel. We saw the same happening with Jordan Daly, I think it was, at Virginia International Raceway. So that's really unfortunate for the race as well, because we had 1 minute and 50 seconds to go. So that's really unfortunate for Octane, Jesse.
Yeah, it certainly is. Something else we didn't expect up here in the booth was the LMP2s to double pit, but that's exactly what it was. That's why it's thrown us for a loop. Everybody in that category has made a second pit stop. Oh, I believe they've made a second pit stop. That might have been their first. Honestly, I've lost a little bit of track with the LMP2 cars. Everybody else has come to pit lane. I would imagine that they wouldn't usually have to double pit, but either way, during the most recent pit stop cycle, that's why Heilman and Dijkstra and Hyla were all out of position there momentarily. It has been resolved. Dijkstra back into the lead with Roshan P2, now some 12.8 seconds behind. Heilman's now up to third with Hyla down in fourth. Tom Bryant maintains fifth even after that long slide. At least they were able to keep it out of the wall. Billy Octane has fallen outside the top five in GTP right here at the end. And as Chet has pointed out, as Les has pointed out, one of the Dropping the Hammer representatives, Tom Watts, in the number 42 in GTD, they find themselves up inside the top five now. Ada Wolf has taken sole possession of P4 in that class as well. Daniel Merchant has settled into third. Mark Macha is comfortable in second, with Roof, who has dominated much of the day in that category, as we count down the final few seconds of this race here in what has been a race certainly filled full of attrition.
The final minutes have been passed, and so the final seconds almost have been passed. 5 seconds on the clock now. Only a few left cars for Felipe coming out of the way here to win the fourth round here at the IMSA RCI Championship on iRacing. Of course, Felipe had a great battle with Leach, did the overcut on the pit stop, and that brought him some fortune, the fortune of the win here today. Of course, I can't speak too soon, but it looks unlikely Felipe will bin it, spin it, or put it in the wall. Of course, finished P3 last time around at Virginia International Raceway, and now looks to take the victory here at the Glen. Of course, really well done by Felipe. He's not over the line yet, almost out of the final turn. Felipe over the main straight wins the fourth race here at IMSA Championship.
Luca Filippi needed 19 points to get back in championship condition. He's done it here today. Filippi, your winner of GTP over his teammate Leach. It's a 1-2 for the team, and they will certainly celebrate this race. Well orchestrated, well choreographed, and well deserved indeed. Sindelar comes home in third with Lep in fourth, and Broshek will come across in fifth place. Octane looks like Daly has just made it around Fernando, and that's how they will finish. As after all of that, Daly does look like he gains a position in the end. Crazy racing. Dykstra comes across in the 888 to win it in LMP2 over Roche and Heilman. That's your top three in that category. Heilo will wonder what might have been today with that fourth place finish. Ruth wins it in almost dominating fashion in GTD. The fight was truly behind them most of the day, with Macha coming home P2, Merchant in third, Wolf and Watts your top five in that category. And if there's one thing that today's race has done, it has completely changed the outlook of this championship. And I know I've said that a few times, but I genuinely mean that. These standings are going to look completely different next week. A lot of these classes at the top have been completely reset now.
Amazing championship we all have on our hands in iRacing, in our first iRacing season, of course, and that it will make for maybe some more exciting racing, some tension brewing between competitors. Of course, everyone wants to win the championship so desperately, and this just turns it all around, and I'm glad it did, Jesse.
Certainly does. Well, we have your winner in LMP2. We have Justin with us here. And Dan, you're Dutch. He's Dutch. Take it away.
How pleased are you to win here for the Dutchies in America, Dijkstra?
I'm very pleased. Yeah, it feels amazing. Finally, a race win. I know I had it in me. But yeah, to have the pace and to really make it happen are two completely different things.
Yeah, of course, it didn't quite happen for you last time around at Virginia International Raceway. So I can see you're really, really delighted. And it makes for some good championship points as well. Any comments on the championship?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm at P5 now, I think. But yeah, Peter Roche finished P2 behind me. So I mean, he's still P1 in the championship, but for sure it's going to be an interesting fight, because Hyla is P4 now. I think he got jumped into the pits at the last moment, so yeah, he will take less points. So yeah, we will see.
Could be the case indeed. Well, my partner in crime, Jesse Lee, probably has some questions as well. Jesse.
Dykstra, what a day it was for you. You outlasted and outwithstood so many other competitors. What was the secret today? So many others had trouble with the racetrack, with lap traffic. What was different for you?
Well, qualifying, I was in P3, and then at the start, Peter and Hyla, yeah, in the last turn, had a little bit of a fight, so I could get a really good exit. Went 3 wide, was in the middle. Broke a bit earlier than them into T1, and then got a better exit, overtook them both. And yeah, from there, Hyla was behind me, but at this track it's very hard to overtake. So I just stayed ahead, kept doing my thing. And then, yeah, lap traffic, and yeah, basically no one did an attack on me from there.
Well, congratulations on a brilliant win. Congrats on getting into the championship conversation now. Back up there in the 888. It was an excellently ran race. Congratulations to the winner in LMP2, Dykstra.
Thank you.
Second place in the LMP2 category, Peter Roche. We have him with us as well. And Peter, your race, a lot different than Dykstra's today. You were in a battle all day long, it seems, but you ended up winning the war.
Yeah, that was just absolutely mental, fighting for pretty much the whole race, trying to manage the traffic, being mad at the traffic because I felt like I just had bad luck all the way. And of course, at the start, unfortunately, Well, I messed it up. I should have started much earlier before the green flag went. And I just lost 2 positions and I just wasted my pole position, which I was super happy with. And then it was just fighting with Hyla. I could not fight with Justin at all. He was just too fast. Then I just decided, okay, let's fight with Maciej and have the fight for the championship, essentially.
Well, you won it today. Hyla continued to fall down the field just a little bit in the end. But, I mean, how do you stay focused for a fight for all those laps? We're talking the majority of the race. It's a one-on-one, mano-a-mano fight, and you're doing it everywhere on both ends of the racetrack. You're getting side by side all the time. How did you not get into each other? Was that just mutual respect that fueled that battle?
I don't know, to be honest. It was so close on so many occasions. And also, I have to say, on my end, I was really aggressive because I just wanted to put him off. Try to force a mistake because it's really tough to overtake in these cars. And for some reason, I don't know if it was the setup, but I just seemed to have less speed on the straights. And if I was behind him, then I couldn't really get the move done. But if he was right, if I was in front and he was behind me, then he was maybe sometimes trying to force a move into the bus stop, and sometimes it was successful. And yeah, just mental all around. And I don't even remember how I got to the P2 at the end. Like, it was just so crazy. I just remember. Oh, I think I remember, at least at first, because in the first stop I was just fighting him like right on the bumper. And I just entered the pits right behind him, and then I just jumped him by half a meter during the pit stop in the first one, and in the second one I think I saved in more fuel than him, and my pit stop was just a lot shorter. So that was that then after that.
Dan, do you have anything for P2 in LMP2?
Well, we enjoyed the battle on stream here. I can assume it's a little bit stressful, but in hindsight, how do you look back at the battle you had with Hyla? Did you enjoy it?
I would say yeah. Like, looking back at it, it was one of the best fights I had in sim racing, like, at all. And fighting for such a long time. I was just tired as well because I'm still driving with the one hand.
Oh, no way.
You know, yeah, like I had to do this one, and I will most likely have to do the next one. So,
Wow.
you know, imagine that, and that fighting, and also with the
Yes.
one hand. My elbow
Well-
is a bit tight at the moment.
Well, hats off to you, Peter Roche. Let's see if you can end up on the podium or maybe a win in the next race. Congratulations.
We'll try. Thank you very much.
Peter Roche continuing to beat drivers with one hand literally tied behind his back at times. We move on to the GTD category. Yannick Roof's with us, and he's won it today in his 297 Porsche. Yannick, how'd you do it?
Well, thank you, guys. It was a tough one because you had to manage, I think, all the race from the start. It was very tough to manage tires, fuel, but yeah, it worked out for me.
It definitely seems like it worked out, but there was a battle earlier on in the race, and you eventually just separated yourself a little bit. How did you find managing traffic in the gap throughout this event?
Traffic was all right for the most time of the race. There were some situations where it was kind of tough, but I just tried to be as smooth as possible, as careful as possible, as careful as possible. Yes, and so avoided all the possible crashes with the faster cars. In the beginning of the race, I was not quite sure if I'm on the right strategy, because I was full fuel, and the Ferrari behind me was, I think, half fuel, something like that. He pitted way before me, so I was not quite sure if it worked out for me, but in the end it did. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Excellent job as always, and I'm going to turn you over to my partner, Dan Van Zutphen.
We haven't seen you a lot on stream. It's maybe a good thing. You were quite far in the lead. How easy is it to lose your focus when you're not really battling anyone?
In these kind of races, it's quite easy to stay focused because all the time you have cars coming from behind, LMP2, GTPs, so you have to stay focused all the time. And yeah, so the race kind of went quick, but it's still over an hour race, so it's always tough.
Well, tough it is indeed. And maybe it should be. Anyways, thank you, Ruff, and congratulations with your P1, and we'll hope to see you back next week.
Thank you, guys.
What a drive by Yannick that was. That got him back into the championship conversation. It only took one round, and he got it done. Somebody who had a tougher road today was Piotr Dominicus, and he's joined us now for commiserations. An early slide, Piotr, sort of set the tone for the day.
Well, not even that. I was distracted at the start, so I already missed that part. Would have been better to start P5, but
So what distracted you at the start?
somebody in my room has like entered in my room.
Oh, you had
before.
a real distraction.
Yeah. So that was fine. Then I get to the bus stop first time. Right, like, what is it? Like 200 meters before a pop-up window. So that distracted me and spun the car. I had some kind of damage, but I think we had fast repairs on this time round. Then just drive until I can refuel and go into the pits. Finally, the car felt great again. Drive around, just stay on the pace and hope for something to happen in front. And a lot did, but unfortunately, traffic also hit me twice. So I won't call any names, but it was kind of horrible.
So what keeps you going, Piotr, in a race like that? It's not going your way. You're tail end of the field for a while, and then you have a second trip down pit lane, and obviously traffic being what it is. What keeps you going? What keeps you from throwing in the towel on a day like today?
Why would you throw in the towel? Is sort of my thing. Like, sure, it is not going great, but just drive. You can still learn from it. Like, I still got the fastest lap time in my class, at least. It's something.
Dan, do you have anything for Mr. Dominicus?
I don't really have any questions, but I can give a compliment because, well, never give up is the mentality you should have. And even though the result might have been a bit less, I think you've proved yourself again here today to be a strong believer in a comeback race. Congratulations.
Yeah, we will try next week, of course. Thanks, guys.
Piotr Dominicus, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't give up. A couple of cars were in that camp here today. Daly, who technically retired and rejoined the race, which he's allowed to do, of course, in iRacing. I think I saw another car do that as well, and Dominicus didn't quite get to that point, but perseverance, there's something certainly to be said about that in races like today. Dan, Watkins Glen in the books, Laguna Seca next week. What are your final thoughts, though, here as we leave New York?
For goodness sake, well, I think mayhem could just arrive here at our first IMSA season, and I think it will do. So I'll just say to the viewers, tune in for next race because it'll be even more fun.
Well, there you have it, folks. It's going to be a wild one on the West Coast in wine country, Laguna Seca, next week, the same time, the same place. You're not going to want to miss it on your way out. Subscribe and hit the icon, the bell, to make sure you stay informed. We'll be back live this coming Friday for the continuation of the GT2 Championship. We'll have Austin and Tim on the call for you with that. And, of course, Night Owl on Saturday night as well. Ted and myself bringing you all the live action from the brand new season of Night Owl. We'll be back here the same time, the same place. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll see you in 1 week from wine country. Until then, I've been Jesse Lee, joined by Dan Van Zutphen and Ash Bibby behind all of the cameras today. Thank everyone for watching, joining, and participating. We'll see you next time. Have a good night.